welcome back to NoiseGate. Today we are in my home studio and we are checking out the Rat pedal, the venerable Rat, the distortion slash fuzz slash mid boost. It's a really versatile pedal and been a very popular pedal for many years, used by such luminaries as Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. Jeff Beck is said to have used one. Nuno Betancourt from Extreme used one. John Scofield used one. So a wide variety of guitar players have stepped on a Rat for their distortion tones. Now today, what we're going to do is compare the UAD digital emulation of a Rat, which is called the Raw pedal that you can see here. We're going to compare that with the modern production Rat and a vintage 1987 Rat. Now, you can see the similarities between these two. One of the things that I like doing in my slightly nerdy way is seeing how companies get around any copyright infringements while still telling the end user what their emulation is of. So you can see UA have put in just one letter change, raw. You'll see that the controls are very similar. In fact, they're the same. We've got volume, we have got filter, and we have got distortion. Now, the branding is very close. You'll notice that the raw on the UA is actually in the same lettering as the ProCo. You can see it on the bottom of the modern one. The ProCo is the brand, and that lettering is the same as on the raw pedal or the raw plugin. One of the advantages of the modern Rat that the old Rat and the emulation do not have is a light to tell you when it's on. Now, that might seem like not that exciting, but when you're using a vintage Rat and you can't see whether or not the pedal is on, it can be confusing. So, there may be some times here where I get caught out. Let's find out. Now, before we get started, I'd like to talk a little bit about the setup. The first thing that I want to address is that I know there may be some difference between the way that a pedal emulation reacts with the amp emulation compared to the real versions. But the point of today's comparison is to use these in a way that people would use them in the real world. Now, I know that some people say you need to reamp it and do all of these extra bits. Most people are not going to do that, and so I am not doing that today. I am starting here with a pretty simple Marshall emulation on a relatively clean sound that sounds like this. Don't let anyone tell you that Marshalls can't do cleans. So I'm going into the vintage Rat, I'm then going into the modern Rat, I'm then going into the Apollo Twin, and in the Apollo Twin I then have in my unison enabled input, I have the raw. So let's just hear the sounds of the three of them. Now what I'll do is I'll keep the settings on the screen so that you can see what I'm doing, and I'll make sure the settings on these two pedals are exactly the same, but you can follow along with where the settings are based on what the plugin is doing. So we're going to start with everything at 12 o'clock. I'm playing a telly here with a humbucker and a single coil in it, so we'll hear a few different sounds today. So let's start with the vintage Rat with a humbucker and then a single coil. Let's do the same thing with the modern Rat. And finally, with the emulation. Now, they all sound great. To my ears straight away, and I don't know if this is coming through for you, but the modern Rat has a little bit more low end, a little bit more roundness to it, whereas the vintage and the plug-in Rat both have a little bit more of a nasally quality, a bit more mid-range. Now, when I turn the distortion up in the plug-in, I definitely notice that I get a lot more of that mid-range. In fact, it almost gets to like cocteau kind of tones. Let's hear that. So you can hear quite a different tone there. So if I then put the same settings, so distortion about 3 o'clock, filter about 11. This is on the vintage Rat, and I do the same thing on the modern Rat. This is the vintage first here. And the modern. So, again, a lot more mid-range in the plug-in version. Now, all of them I think sound really cool. As you would have heard at the beginning of the video, I made a song that had a little bit of all 3 of those tones in it. Now, that shows that one is not necessarily better than the other, but they're all unique in their own way. More on that later. Let's try one more setting, and I'm going to go maybe more in the kind of John Scofield realm here. I'm going to back the distortion off, turn the volume up a bit, and turn the filter round to the other side. Now, one thing to note with this pedal, in the pedal world, we are used to this being more low end and less highs, and that being more highs and less low end. On the Rat, it's the other way around. This is an unusual quirk of this pedal. So as I go further round to the right here, or further clockwise, I'm actually getting a darker tone. So my tone here is going to be less gain and a little bit darker. I'm going to play with the single coils though and get into that John Scofield sort of territory. Let's start with the vintage Rat. We're going to do the same thing with the modern Rat. And finally, of course, the emulation. Interestingly, when you get lower in the gain, I feel that the emulation is a little bit warmer than the real pedals. So what does that mean? Well, perhaps there is a little bit more to the way that the guitar is interacting with the real pedals versus the emulation, but nonetheless, it's still a very cool, very usable sound. So, digital versus real. Well, for a start, the real pedal is real simple. It's right in front of you. You can plug it into your real amp and make real loud noise, and it's great fun. You can run it on a battery, you can put it in your bag, you can take it wherever you go. The UA plugin is very cool. It requires either UA hardware or the Spark software. And it is tied to the inputs that you have on your computer. So you can't easily run it through your amps. It is possible, but it's not that simple. Another bonus of the digital version is that you can run as many instances of it as you like in your DAW, or You can also run it in stereo and in dual mono. What is the purpose of that? Well, if you are running it on a bus, like for example, on your drum bus or on a vocal channel, and you have a stereo sound, in the real world, you would need 2 rats. You would need a patch bay to get in and out of your computer and your DAW, and you would need probably some kind of transformer to get it into the correct impedance. That can be a little bit annoying, as you can imagine. With the digital version, you can drop this straight onto your bus in your DAW or straight onto an auxiliary channel in the UA console, and you have it over your stereo send. Now, that's very cool. Dual mono, similar sort of thing, except you effectively get 2 different versions of the same pedal in one instance. So you could have the left channel doing one sort of distortion and the right channel doing the other. Now, all very cool and very, very interesting to get unique sounds. I'm just going to show you here quickly what I did with the drums that you heard at the start. The Rat pedal sounds awesome on drums. Now, I have got here this drum loop, which is just like this. Pretty simple, straight ahead. Sounds great, don't get me wrong. But when I blend in, I've got this UAD raw instance here. I'm going to blend that in on the auxiliary channel, and it gets instant Tame Impala sort of drum sounds. Check it out. So, which one did you prefer? Let us know in the comments if you thought one stuck out more than the other. And let us know if you'd like us to make any other comparisons. To finish, I am going to play the modern Rat into the emulation Rat into my Marshall and play it out that way. Thanks for watching Noisegate. We'll see you next time.